When it comes to planting food plot screening and other sorts of crops like that, there's a certain time of year that's really ideal to plant them. So I used to plant these at the beginning of May, and I'm glad that I've stopped doing that the last couple years, because what's been recommended to me from Grandpa Ray Outdoors is doing that at the beginning of June. Usually the first couple weeks of June all the way into mid-June can be really great for growing that sort of a forage or that sort of a crop. The reason being, you want the soil temperatures to be a certain degree. You want them to be nice and warm. You want the air temperatures to be warm. And that way that seed is more likely to start germinating and really get that explosive growth from the beginning. And if you can get that, that really helps you get ahead of any challenges that you might face, like lack of moisture, lack of rain, things like that. And it also likes humid, hot weather like a sweet corn or field corn does. And so it just thrives under those conditions. I was planning to wait until the first couple weeks of June, and here we are. It's June 1st. I couldn't resist today. I had to get out here and do this because we have rain in the forecast almost every single day this week in Missouri, in Northwest Missouri. And I was afraid that if I didn't do it now, I could run the risk of having 2 or 3 weeks before we've got a good chance of rain in the forecast. And by that point, I'm going to be getting closer to the end of June. And I really don't want to wait that long because July and August can be really dry around here. I just don't want to run the risk of not having any moisture. So we're planting it today. As you can see behind me, I've run over this with a disc. This is one area that I'm going to plant the Fortress screening from Grandpa Ray's. It has Egyptian wheat, screening sorghum, grain sorghum, and a pearl millet in it. And it has done really well for me the last few years, and it gets really tall. I start to kind of wonder if it's going to make it or if it's going to do well. And then every year, right around those first couple weeks of August, it almost doubles in height, and it just really explodes at that 60-day mark or so. So, you know, if you do plant a screening like this, don't worry if you're not seeing a great amount of growth in the first 40 to 50 days, because it's really day 60. Obviously, there's a lot of conditions that need to be right, that need to help that. But it's really that day 60, you really see that doubling in height. I say double, I'm probably exaggerating a little bit, but it really seems to blow up right then, and you see that explosive growth right before deer season begins, which is just ideal. So what are the reasons for planting a screening? I know that this was something that several years ago I was not really a fan of. I was like, I want to plant something that's going to be feeding my deer, that's going to be attracting my deer. If I'm taking up real estate in an already kind of small plot, I've got a small area here that I'm planting in food plots. It's probably 1 acre total. You've got timber. I've got a strip that we call the walkway. I've got a place in the timber that I have planted. I've got this little area down here at the end. And then I've got one that's kind of a bigger field out in the hayfield. It's about a 1/4 acre. So there's not a lot there to plant. And so I didn't want to take up that much of it with a screening that's not really going to be attracting the deer. That said, I think 3 or 4 years ago was the first year that I put in a screening. And what I did was I made a strip of it by our hayfield that joins up to where a food plot is, just south of where I have a deer stand, and then also south of where the neighboring property has just a lot of bedding. It's all grown up over there with trees and brush and things like that. There's no farming being done to it. You could almost call it CRP. I'm not sure if it is in CRP, but that's where the deer bed. And I put a strip of that screening there. And I'll tell you, there's several reasons for it, but it's really done well to just give the deer that much more seclusion. It also can funnel the deer in the direction you want them to go sometimes if you plant it really strategically. Another reason that people use screening is to help with their entrance and exit from their deer stands. I don't necessarily use it for that, but there is a place or two where I can hide behind that. Or one time when I was walking in, I actually saw a stalk of the Egyptian wheat moving around and shaking, and I thought that's kind of suspect. And sure enough, there was a deer down there feeding in that screening in some of the milo, and was able to detect that there was a deer in there. So I knew to be a little more patient as I came into the stand. But you can use it as a way to mask your entry and exit and block that from the deer's vision. You can also use it, and I haven't been able to do this yet, but you can also use it to split your plots into two. So say you have a food plot that's more than 1 acre. Maybe you have a food plot that's a few acres big. You could take strips of screening. Oh man, these mosquitoes. You could take these strips of screening and break that plot up into 3-4 sections. And what that's going to do is that makes a buck or other deer have to put out more effort to glass or view what's in a field. So if they come out to the corner of the field and they're in your edging, or they're in your still hanging back in the timber while other deer are out there, if they can see all the way across that field and see what's out there, they're going to be less likely to head out there right away. They're going to be more patient. But if they have to put out some effort to go, man, I can't see past that screening, I need to go down and get through there and see what's on the other side of it, it just gives you more opportunities to possibly get shots at certain deer that you might be hunting. So there's another strategy for it as well. And finally, the last thing about screening, when you get into those late winter months, when you get into the snow and the cold and everything else has kind of died and there's not a lot of forage around, deer will use that screening as a last resort for food. So when you've got that milo in there, that's a great food source for them. I think even the pearl millet they'll get into as well. So never discount the benefit of a screening even as a food source when you get into the late season. My process for putting in this screening is I went a couple years where I tried to no-till it. It didn't do very well. I don't have a grain drill, so I am relying on getting seed to soil contact, and I have to be able to do that by running a disc. So I went through, I disked everything from last year. It actually, the thatch that was on top of it has kept any weeds or anything growing up in it. As you can see behind me, it has actually worked up really nice. I'll move out of the way there. It's worked up really nice to where now I can get that seed to soil contact, come back, we'll spray it with liquid fertilizer, and then run a harrow over it to work some of that fertilizer into the soil. We've got rain in the forecast this week, and I'm hoping that's going to get it jump started and get us a good screening going for this deer season coming up. Thank you for watching Farming for Whitetails. We'll see you next time.